Good evening. My name is LaMonica Wiggins. I live at 7036 Buford Way. That will be in the backyard of my house. My daughter is one that goes and we play at that park. You can sit in my backyard and see that house. Well, it's great that you're doing it. I work in the medical field. Wonderful that he's doing it. But the area and the location that you're putting it in, you're putting it in a residential area. Yes, they got the notice. I didn't get the notice until the 31st. Sick in the hospital when my neighbor come and tell me about it. Yeah, I thought it was a crawfish boil. I'm not gonna blame him about the crawfish boil because I should have been going to more meetings and things like that. I work. I'm off on medical leave to be able to attend. I have a lot of neighbors that are at work now that can't attend this meeting. They are against it. But my concerns are you're gonna have different things come to that neighborhood. We're gonna also be getting little flyers in the mail talking about sex offenders because some of them are, some will. They will have different other things bring into this community. But my thing is, why would you want to put it in a residential neighborhood? And just like they said, this has already been established. It's gonna already get voted for. But my thing is, we should have known more about it other than a crawfish boil. We should have been able to get together with him. Yes, he probably came, but he didn't come to my house. I get off at 4:30. And if you're gonna put something in my backyard, why not come? Let me talk to this lady. Let me let her know what's going on. Let me hear his story. I have a story too. I have some drug addiction people in my family. But my thing will they be able to get in your program? Yes, you're gonna be taking some with insurance. What about the ones that don't have insurance, that really need this program? We have a bunch of homeless people in our neighborhood. But we're not thinking about the homeless people. We have some veterans that are homeless in our neighborhood. We should have been putting a homeless shelter up there too. They're not gonna have access to this facility, but they're homeless. And they are relatives and fought for our country. They're lot in our area. But one thing I can say, I don't see them in Steeplechase neighborhood. I see them around Pines Road. But why would we put a facility like that in a residential neighborhood? We have a facility that's already set up that was closed. Why not put it somewhere where it can be around a medical or outskirts? That's my thing. Great that you're doing it. You're bringing jobs. Yes, we do need jobs. But like one said, why did it get opposed in Country Club neighborhood? I didn't hear about that until one of my neighbors told me about it. Why did it not get in Country Club neighborhood? But because they all came out, they spoke, and they was opposed against it in their neighborhood. We're opposed again. You have a few people that came out and that was able to speak and that is opposed against it. Not opposed against it being in our neighborhood. Not opposed against the facility, but in our neighborhood. I have a little girl. Best believe if it gets there, I will be moving to Houston. I'm sending a child out. I will be putting my house up for sale. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Carolyn Batley. My address is 7403 Pressberry Court, and no, I am not within the 300-foot perimeter of the facility. But however I do live in the neighborhood. And so to the Planning Commission, we the citizen, taxpayers, and Steeplechase homeowners come before you today humbly requesting that the commission vote no on the opposed zoning request and preliminary site plan located at 6319 West 70th Street to be rezoned as a rehab and substance abuse facility. We, the community, understand the problem with drug and alcohol in the city and country. I'm sure a lot of our families, as it has been said, gathered here today, have someone who has or someone who's suffering from one or both of the illnesses. We do not want to give the impression that we are not sympathetic or empathetic to this cause. But however, the community has major concerns with this facility literally being at our back doors. Our concerns have to do with the security of our neighborhood, elderly citizens walking in the park for exercise, our children walking and playing in the neighborhood and parks. Schools are in close proximity to the proposed facility. The safety and security of our properties become a greater concern with strangers, specifically visitors and families of those who will be housed and treated at the facility, roaming in and out of the neighborhoods, going to and fro to this facility, even though it has been said that it's right off of West 70th. But however, it is next to our neighborhood. And last but not least, Louisiana is already ranked number 2 as the worst state in the country economically. As the worst state in the country economically, we, the residents of Steeplechase, do not need a facility such as the Resilient House, which would also negatively affect our property value as well. We feel it has been said that the project has been ongoing for the last 10 months. Unfortunately, as you have heard, a lot of us, since we weren't within that 300 feet proximity, knew nothing of it. As others have also said, we received a letter. The letter was dated the 31st of May 31st. We received it on Saturday. That was our first opportunity that we learned of this Resilient House at that particular time. And so we were also told that there were crawfish balls, et cetera, et cetera. And unfortunately, if I had gotten a flyer for a crawfish ball, I do not eat crawfish, so therefore I wouldn't have gone. A drug and alcohol facility is needed for the city of Shreveport. However, we feel that there are other locations that would be better suited for an alcohol and drug facility, which would offer clients privacy and seclusion much needed while recovering from the addiction or illness, and it does not have to be in or near an established neighborhood with resident children in schools. Last but not least, it has been said numerous times by a lot of you that this is a world-class treatment center. But the way it was handled and the notification of the neighbors, not everyone does not go to the churches, to all the churches of, yes, sir, but I'm just, okay. Oh, okay. Everyone does not attend all the churches in the neighborhood. And so for the residents, we are here today because we received that one letter from our association, one official letter. A flyer is not official. So that's why we are here. And we're asking that the committee will oppose this rezoning. And as others have said, and just listening not only to those who are for the project and listening to the committee, unfortunately, it sounds as though the decision has already been made. But we hope you consider our appeal as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Marvin Badley. I live at 7403 Pressbury Court. I was my wife that just spoke. I also live outside of the perimeter of the affected area. However, I'm looking at things from a slightly different perspective. There are, with what everyone has said here today, It's been some really sincere testimonies. It sounds really, really good. The intentions apparently that they have for these buildings, it sounds really good. As a matter of fact, I visited the compound, if I might call it that. It's a beautiful place. And I think that it would be a shame for that compound, that beautiful place, to be used for, or to be abused. What am I saying? What am I saying? That the people that are going to be in charge of this particular facility, have we really looked at them really closely? Examined their integrity really closely? Backgrounds really closely? Because that's who's going to be running it. No matter how beautiful the compound is, it's only as effective as the people that's in charge of it. And there's also unintended consequences here. There may be unintended consequences. As we know, the House of Representatives in Baton Rouge right now, they're voting on reducing the inmate population by 10%. 10%. That's going to be a lot of people that's going to be released really soon. Nonviolent, true. But I present to you, they may very well be drug abusers, alcohol abusers, getting out on parole, getting out at the request of maybe a counselor inside of the institution. So the consequences may very well be, while we have individuals saying that it's going to be world-class and high-quality individuals coming here, you know, I do know one thing, having worked in the institutions for almost 3 decades, if a judge says, put him in, he's coming in. And there's nothing anyone could do about it. You could oppose it, of course, but they're going to come in. Unintended consequences as far as what's going to happen to the neighborhood. This is an established neighborhood. I commend you, I applaud you for what you're trying to do. But this neighborhood is already established. Children, elderly individuals, and let's face it, if it's going to be so great, why have a 10-foot fence? That's all I have to say. No,
Hi, my name is Tara Parker. I live at 6302 Garden Oaks Drive, which is this house right there. My house does back up to this facility. Currently, he has said you will come in off 70th Street. You can currently come in off Club Pines. There is a tree down. That is the only thing stopping for anybody from going down that road. The facility that was there before, we were told there would be no extra cars, no extra people on our street. That was a lie, because you can get down there from that entrance, and people do use it, and they did use it, and what's to stop the tree from being moved? I have a problem with this. Any business, not just a drug facility place, so please understand it has nothing to do with that. I'm concerned with any business being in my backyard. I have 2 children. You're placing a business in my yard, which we can see a 10-foot fence will not stop anything. This facility is also within 2.5 miles of 3 different schools. You are placing a drug facility place less than 3 miles from 3 schools. I don't think this is a good idea, and I oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Peter Chasson. I live on 6110 South Weatherby Drive. I was just informed about this rehab center this week when I got a letter from my Steeplechase Homeowners Association. Just like these previous people said, you should not have this kind of facility in a neighborhood. I've been living in this house for 22 years. A lot of my neighbors just found out about it this week. I have a lot of elderly people in my neighborhood, and they're all scared out of their depth. I have a retired GM worker across the street, retired Marine, he's scared, retired Navy guy, retired school teacher, retired dentist, all on my street, these elderly people, and they just found out about it this week. And they're very scared, and like I said, this neighborhood's gone through a lot. When GM closed down, it was a big drain on our neighborhood. Now you're gonna put this in there, it's gonna cause even more problems. This should not, I would agree we need a rehab center, but it should not be in a neighborhood. It should not be in a neighborhood. I hope y'all already haven't made up your mind. I guarantee if we would have had more time and you would, all the citizens in our neighborhood, I guarantee you 90% would sign a petition saying they did not want it in the neighborhood. So I at least ask you to delay the vote so we can get the rest of the people who don't know this is happening to voice their objection to it. So at least please delay the vote since we just found out this week. Thank you very much. I filled out a form.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Thank you so much. Just for the record, I'd like to ask if you would, those who are in favor, just to raise your hand. Those who support the application, you would raise your hand. All right. Those who oppose the application, would you raise your hand? All right. And I guess just as a qualifier, those who live within 300? In the neighborhood or 300 feet, would you raise your hand? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The applicant has a right at this point to make any rebuttal that they may want to make.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate everybody's concerns. First of all, the safety. The safety for the last eight and a half years in this neighborhood, we've employed an off-duty Caddo Parish officer. At first, it was 24 hours a day for about 7 years, and then as the drop in the natural crude price, we had to cut it back to 12 hours, and then when it got worse, we cut it back. We just cut it out. This project will allow us to put that back to patrol the neighborhood. That was our piece that we gave back to the neighborhood even before this project even became a project, because not only did we live in it, our employees lived in it, our family lived in it, and we had our business. We had a business that employed probably 2,000 people that housed up a financial plaza. So we've always looked at ourselves as a steward of the neighborhood and want to keep the best of this neighborhood best. And so we will continue to live here and be stewards of this neighborhood. I personally, when things have been slow the last couple of years, have mowed the right of way and continue to mow the right of way to keep up 70th Street and to pick up trash and to make it better, even before this even took place. When you go back to talking about that it was just a crawfish boil, we started out with the homeowners association. We invited them to our facility to have a presentation. We invited the Steeplechase Homeowners Association to have their meeting, their monthly meeting at our facility. They chose to have it at the libraries. We went to the library several times, and we've opened ourselves up to, our office is at the facility right now. That me and Rod Delaney and other Brian Hollins, we're there 6 days a week, and sometimes 7 days a week that we're there. So, to say that we haven't made ourselves available, we've continued to make ourselves available. I almost felt like we've been running for governor with this, the way we've been, campaigning. So it's, I appreciate that people are saying that, that people have been missed. But Ms. Johnson, I personally gave her a tour throughout the whole entire facility at the crawfish boil. Yes, I gave you a personal tour that we went through the facility.
Excuse me.
So, trust me when I tell you that we've done everything we could possibly do. We live in this neighborhood. Our family lives in this neighborhood, and we continue to want to live in this neighborhood. So to bring, safety is the utmost concern of this project, and to continue the quality of life in this neighborhood is the utmost highest part of our plan. We could have filed this application in January and in February. We waited till even with the change in the UDC code that was coming out, that we knew that there could be different implications and a different process to file this. We held back to wait to make sure that we informed and that we held open meetings. And if it wasn't, some people that don't like crawfish, we had catfish. I mean, we had fish fries to make sure that it was available. So this is the informational piece about this. was the most important. The community involvement was the most important in this project to us, to reach out and to touch as many people as we could touch, and to share the story. I did it continually, and I continue to keep on doing it. You know, whoever come and listen to my story, you know, and our story and our vision of how we want to do this. You know, I take a little bit of exception to when people say those people, you know, because you're talking about me. You know, I mean, you live next to a drug addict. That was me, and you know, I mean, it's, you know, we're not busting in windows, and we're not, you know, we're not stealing cars, and we're not tipping people over. This facility will not house sex offenders. There'll be a criteria. There will be, you're not going to be a harm to yourself or harm to others, or, you know, some have a background that you know, of to be a sex offender. There's a criteria to come into a facility like this. So what we want to build here is something that's going to complement the West Side, complement this region. We look at this region as the capital of the architects. So we want to better and better and better this neighborhood. You know, I chose to stay on the west side of Shreveport when it was a struggle, when all of our action was in Houston, all of our customers and all of our clients were in Houston. And I chose to keep it on the west side of Shreveport and have 60,000 square feet of office space that I filled at Financial Plaza that we kept there, because the people of this neighborhood and the people of this area were the 7 secret herbs and spices that made our business different. That, you know, when we should have moved to Houston, but we chose to stay here. So I appreciate everybody's comments and everybody's concerns. And trust me that you know, the community involvement does not stop here today if this is approved. If it's approved during City Council, that I've asked for Steeplechase and Garden Oaks and the surrounding neighborhoods to be on an advisory board. I've offered them positions to be on advisory boards and understand what the KPIs of the key point indicators of how this facility will be run, and have oversight to be involved in this, and to know when we're successful and when we're unsuccessful, to understand what the financial capabilities of this project are. And to be updated, that we have a community liaison that will be, you know, 24 hours a day. If you go back to, you know, on the flyers on the bottom of the door hangers, there was, for the people that couldn't make it, there is an email address. Somebody that didn't want to speak, you know, that wanted to be anonymous, there was an email address that you could make a request, send in a concern, or send in a question. We had 2. That was printed on every single one, because I know that, you know, with technology now that you got to make it, you know, that it isn't always, you know, that you can't catch people. They're working days or they're working nights. So, you know, we tried to make it as friendly as possible to get the information out to people and give people the chance to respond. Even when they, you know, we invited people in even when there was concerns and they were upset, you know, to sit down and say, let's discuss this. And, you know, you may not leave here, you know, on the same, you know, agreement that we are, but at least, you know, we both just, we had the opportunity to discuss it. So I appreciate everything that's been said, and, you know, if we're granted this, you know, to have this, you know, to operate here on 70th Street, this wasn't built for this. This was built and intended for other purposes. This was, you know, these were single-family homes were on this property, and there was a dormitory that was built for Evangel Christian Academy. That project went away, and so, you know, this wasn't built, and we stopped doing anything. We didn't make a bed. We didn't change out a doorknob until this would be approved. You know, because that's what I want. People that have toured this, they've seen that there's been stuff that has not been done. And I said, we're not doing one thing until that we get the community buy-in and the community agreement that this will be approved. Not because we were worried about spending money, it was because I didn't want to give people the impression like we had already gotten approval for this. That, you know, I wanted them to see that this is the way it is, and this is the way it's going to be until you and we as a community, you know, in our agreement on what we're going to do here. The back street here that's on Clug Pines, I've asked for that to be abandoned, and for the land to be given to the homeowner next to us. That's on Clug Pines. The Clug Pines traffic was off at Garden Oaks. That was not our traffic. That, you know, that was an open street that people would cut through our house. So the person that had the complaint was me, that they were cutting through my neighborhood, cutting through my backyard. I'm asking for that to be abandoned. I'm asking for the rest of the piece that's coming off of 70th Street, the Clug Pines, just to be for fire and safety, and there'll be a fire click gate there. And we'll double gate that. There'll be a 30-foot setback, and they'll put another fence that, you know, that will be the setback off of Steeplechase. The 10-foot is that, you know, for privacy, for the people that are in here don't want to be seen just as much as people on the outside don't want to be seen. It's not for security. If somebody wants to, you know, that's more for screening and privacy and for aesthetics. So I think that our plan that we've given and we've put forth in front of this board is a professional, put together plan, well thought out, and, you know, we just want to be great, and we want to continue to be an asset to this neighborhood. we will continue to live in this neighborhood. My father-in-law is building a $400,000 house over in El Rancho that's, 2 streets over. We're in this community, and we want to be in this community. So I thank this board for everything, and I thank the community, and I hope that we can all come to agreement on the future plans. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I want to open the discussion to the board, to the Metropolitan Planning Commission, for any discussion you may have in reference to case number C-50-17.
Motion to approve with stipulations.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Remedy to approve with the staff stipulations, and a second by Mrs. Smith. Questions? Mr. Colvin?
Yeah, Mr. Sweeney, would you do us a favor for both sides of the party and the audience? Would you go down the staff recommendation for this particular project at this address?
Yes, sir. Sure. And the staff recommendation reads as follows. Due to the flexibility inherent in the PUD designation that would allow this property to retain its base residential single-family zoning and components of the existing open space features and prohibit non-residential uses with the exception of a drug and alcohol rehabilitation facility, staff recommends approval of this application subject to the applicant's compliance with the following stipulations. 1. Development of the subject property shall be in a substantial accord with the approved preliminary site plan. 2. Approval of the requested use and ordinance relief along with the proposed site amenities as documented in this report. 3. Submission of a revised preliminary site plan indicating all existing and proposed parking spaces both at the administrative office and men's dormitory, as well as the required 20-foot fire access road as required by the City Department of Fire Prevention. And then 4, submission of a final site plan for the review and approval by the Executive Director prior to the issuance of any permits. And then finally, number 5, subdivision of the property for the purposes of creating a legal lot of record prior to the issuance of any permits.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Cooper.
I just wanted to make a few comments, just in particular because I want to distinguish this case from a similar case that we had last month. I think compared to that case, the support for this case is overwhelming compared to that case, and the amount of research and the effort and time and commitment to communicate with the community in this case was vastly different than in the last case. In this case, the developer is living in the area. The people who are speaking in support of this are living in the area. I've heard a lot of comments that I think are based on fear, and that fear is turning to anger. I work every day in juvenile court with children. My clients are children, and their parents struggle with a lot of these things, and their parents are wonderful. They're not thugs, and they're not going to jail for distribution or sex crimes or anything. Half of my cases are substance abuse cases, and I'm not afraid of these people. I would live in the same neighborhood with these people. I think there's a lot of fear. I've heard a lot of comments that I think are based on fear that I don't think are going to become, I don't think that's what they're going to see. I just think it's important to distinguish this case for the sake of consistency, and I don't know if any of you have any comments about that compared to the case last week. Or month rather.
As I said earlier, if there are no other comments, one of the things we get to, this community service that we do is, it never fails at every meeting. We get to hear two sides of one story, and the issue always becomes whether or not, and I think someone has suggested that, whoever has the most people, that's who we should vote for. I should also say that we have some obligations that are circumscribed in the law, not whether or not we like it or whether or not we get support from X amount of people. But the question that comes before us is whether or not this fits with what we have a responsibility to do or not do within the city limits of Caddo Parish and the city of Shreveport. Fortunately, for people who have applications, this is not the end of the due process. For those who don't like the outcome, there's always the city council in this case. But ours is not to determine whose plea is the most passionate, because there are people on both sides of every issue. So I heard somebody say it. I mean, I live in the neighborhood, and so obviously there are people on both sides. So my hope is that as we move forward with this, that people understand that we have a role to play that should not, at least in my opinion, should not be swayed by passionate speech nor the number of people who show up, but whether or not we are within the bounds of what we are fiduciarily and legally responsible to do as commissioners with the MPC. So with that being said, are there any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor vote yes, all opposed, the application vote no. Passes unanimously. That's the end of our consent agenda. And now we have number 11, Master Plan Implementation Report. Mr. Sweeney.
Yes, sir. Just to talk about the master plan implementation report. As you may be aware of, back again on the 15th of May is when
Everybody, if you would, as quietly as you could, if you're leaving. We're still in our session with you. Just please, as quietly as you can. If you have to leave, please leave as quietly as you can. For those of you who are standing, if you are leaving, please continue the conversation outside, please. Thank you.
All right. Ready?
Yes.
All right. I will speak loudly for you.
And briefly.
And briefly. On May the 15th, you know that the city implemented the UDC, and if you'll go to our website, we're making a series of changes. A lot of things are under construction. We have new forms and procedures for the UDC. We also have a new fee structure that's there that was approved by the city council back last month. We also have a new dynamic and interactive zoning map of the UDC designations that the people can access now on our website. And you can expect more changes and more educational efforts to come pertaining to the UDC. Other staff reports. I just want to make you aware of the fact, I mentioned last time that we'd gotten a budget amendment approved by the City Council that allowed us to move some funds around so that we could do the financial sustainability study of the MPC that has never been done before. And I wanted to let you know we're making progress on that. The contract with Tishler Weiss is at hand. We're going through the process that we have to with the city and making sure we dot all the I's and cross all the T's. And that hopefully that contract will be in place within the next few days so that we can have a financial sustainability report available to you by August of this year. The only other thing I want to mention is that next Friday, on the 16th of June, is our last visit from Camiros, in which Arista will be here to complete her efforts toward finishing out our staff training efforts for the UDC. We've been doing a lot of internal training, a lot. Ebony's been working a lot on that and doing a lot of the preparatory work, a lot of hard work, and we're making great progress so that we are all on the same page. And so that will finish that out. I'll have one more bill to pay on that contract, and for the most part, unless we do an extension of certain work orders, that will be my final payment of after 4.5 years of work. So there you have it. Yeah.
Yes, Ronnie. I'm sorry, Mr. Remedies.
That's all right. You can call me whatever. On the website, I had a question. I was looking at when you're looking at some of the new zoning changes.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a place on our website where you can translate what a MU2 means, or I?
Yes, if you go, there's a copy of the UDC is there. And so if you go to the UDC and you look at our legend that shows you what the zoning is.
Well, I meant, I'm sorry, I meant if you're looking at the map and you click on a building or a property and it says it's zoned A, B plus.
Right.
Okay? What does that mean and what is allowed? I'm just making a suggestion here. I was looking at a couple of the properties that I own, and so people understand, so you don't get so many calls in the office. There's a way you can look at the home page and say, what does this mean? And you can go on there and they can answer all those questions. These are the type businesses that are allowed, instead of them researching it through the UDC. I'm just looking at the use,
Sure.
the ease of use for the.
As in the past, we have a legend that goes with the map. And the legend tells you what the zoning is. So, but one of the things that's gonna have to happen is that if there's anything we can do to make it more user-friendly, we'll do that. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it could even be a tab that says user legend. What does
Right.
it mean, or whatever the question. I mean, whatever you
Gotcha.
think will be easily identifiable
Right.
to say. So, because again, it's just going to create more workload with people calling and saying,
Sure,
"What is this?" And because we get a lot of applications with just one person that wants to open up a barber shop or
Right.
something like that.
And Stephen has something he wanted to add about that.
We are looking at, there is a way to add different information that we can put PDFs in there. One of the things that we wanted to make sure, we could give those simple explanations of what the districts are, but if we try to say what's allowed and what's not allowed, it gets to be very complex. So, but as far as just being able people to understand what district it is and what the character of that district, we can develop something to do that. We've been talking about all that already. But to get in to try to say, you know, what particularly is allowed in that
Yeah, but
district.
I meant like
would be
that. Your
good.
elevator pitch. If I got on the elevator with you and said, "Hey, what's allowed in the B2?" and you say, "Oh, it's this, this, and this," and how. But it just depends on exactly what your business is. But in general terms, this is what's generally allowed in that section. You know,
Well, there's
8 to
a
5 business, a lawyer's office.
There's a general description that
That's-
that goes along with those districts, and that's what we've been talking about. One of the things that when we launched this, we knew that we were gonna be adding some different things to it as we went
Yeah.
along. We've already talked about that, it was already brought up in our initial review. So, but we felt like, because of the fact that the UDC just got passed, that it was more important to get the facts of getting something that we could see right away. So it's still in development, and we will be able to hopefully report in more detail about that idea. But we've already talked about attaching a PDF that had the explanations.
Okay.
We looked at other cities that have this same tool, and they do a similar thing, and so we know we can do it. We just hadn't got that implemented yet.
So in other words, we're getting there.
Very good. That's all it is. That's it.
All right.
Chair.
Oh, and the only other thing I wanted to mention is that I did pass out to you today, and I gave a copy to Miss Bessie when she was up just a few minutes ago, or earlier, that you have a copy of the cleanup corrective amendments we're proposing for the UDC, things that were just oversights and just blatant errors that need to be cleaned up. I gave it to you for today so that we can have that for the 30 days for you to review it as a courtesy for y'all, because these are complex sometimes. And so therefore, on our July 5th meeting, I will come back to you with a formal request for your consideration of those amendments to take on to the City Council. And if you have any questions, let us know, and we'll be more than willing to answer those questions. That's it.
All right. Any board members have any comments?
Old business, I do.
I'm sorry, Dale, and then Mr. Remedies.
Under old business, we brought it up last week and month, but we didn't vote on it. I still think the bylaws we need to go by, where it says the meeting's at 1 o'clock, not what we did temporarily 14 months ago to move it to 3 o'clock. So,
And I have an answer for you on that, Dale.
Okay.
There's a copy, and why you're not seeing it is nobody has ever taken the original document and added the items on there.
right,
There's a copy in there when we made the changes about access to the attorney, or actually adding on agenda items. we added a line in that replaced the 1 o'clock in the bylaws, and this is back in April of 2016. And it says this: the Metropolitan Planning Commission shall meet in regular session at least once a month and on the first Monday of each month at a time to be determined by the MPC board, and may meet on the third Wednesday for a special session. So what we did is, since we know that there might be changes of when that time would be, we didn't want to nail it down. So y'all approved this language back in April of 2016. So in other words, whatever y'all vote on to be the beginning time is what it will be. And y'all did vote back also to change it from 1 to 3 o'clock. And so if you ever decide to go back to 1 o'clock, this provision still stands.
Well, I specifically remember it being temporarily because only at that time 2 board members wanted to move it back, and the rest of us kind of agreed with it. I don't know what the exact vote was, but if you pull the video, it was a temporary change.
No, this was not a temporary change.
Not,
This was an
not
actual
that
change.
wording, but the 3 o'clock, let's try 3 o'clock and see how it works for everybody.
And that's what we did, but we
Right.
said we'd have to vote to go back if we ever did. So the temporary change was not meant to be just temporary. It was meant that if you decided you wanted to go back to 1 o'clock, you could. And you still have that option. Y'all might decide one day you want to meet at 2 o'clock, and this provision allows you to do that.
Well, we probably have to wait till Alan gets back in, but I'd like to request today, I know it's not on the agenda, but if we get a majority vote, we can put something on the agenda and vote on it today, right?
That's correct.
No,
Okay.
you have to get a unanimous vote.
That's majority.
No,
No,
Robert's
it has to be a majority
You-
vote. It has, I'm sorry, it has to be
State
unanimous
of
vote.
Louisiana's law, the law is you have to be a unanimous vote.
Yes.
I need you to look that up.
Well, it's right here, sir. That's the same,
No, no.
on the same time we did this, it says it has to be
Yeah,
a majority
any
vote.
addition to the agenda.
I mean, a
on the day of the
unanimous vote.
meeting.
Oh, that was that on the bylaws too?
Yeah, no, that's the law we're governed by, that if you have a day where you're adding something to the agenda, you need a unanimous vote to add any new thing. The last meeting, we added that to the agenda, and we added something else. There's 2 things, and we had unanimous vote to do it. That's the only way you're able to do it.
This
Council,
This follows
commission,
what the city council does. There it is
Yeah.
right there. And there's that other thing.
and the MPC.
Yes.
But let's talk about the majority vote.
No, it has to be unanimous, not majority. That's what the city council does, and that's what the parish commission
Yeah,
does.
that's all the governing body.
They were our model on this.
And I think what that prevents is 5 of us ramming something through on the agenda that only we know about and voting on it. And that's the spirit and intent of it.
Spirit.
Yeah, yeah, but that's, you know,
Oh, yeah.
that's why they require you to put it on there for.
The day before, the 24 hours before. All right, so, any other board comments?
Yes, I
Oh,
had
I'm
one,
sorry,
and
Mr.
I'll
Remedy.
try to be very brief. I had a applicant reach out to me, and they weren't running the staff down, they just know that this was part of the transitioning process. They were working on a project on Kingston Road, and Miss Mapp was helping process that, and they were very complimentary of her, and she was trying to get the application. I'm sure you probably remember which one we're talking about. But he said that they came to the preliminary meeting, and, you know, met with you guys as you do, and you guys set forth all of the requirements. They went back and drew everything to those set of requirements, and then when they came to submit their final paperwork, they were told now they have to start over and do everything under the new UDC because their application was in a couple of days, and I didn't know. I wanted to be sure that we're working with people.
Oh, sure.
And I know that I just wanted to ask what we can do for this applicant because they'd already spent over $10,000 in design and engineering. So
I can't tell you what that project is because it's not familiar to me, but as we advertised and as we promoted, we told everyone that if you wanted to submit something to be under the old code, you had until basically the 12th of May to do that. We promoted that, we advertised that, we talked about it on our website, we communicated it to everyone. If you came in after that, you came in on the 15th, which was a Monday, all the new rules were in effect and the old code was gone. So unfortunately, people sometimes didn't pay attention to that, even though we preached it very loud. But when that happens, we have to, since the old 106 code no longer exists legally, we have to enforce it under the UDC. But we had several applicants that came in on the 12th of May who listened and were paying attention and got in here. But if you didn't, you gotta go according to the new rules. That's
No,
just
no,
the
I
way.
understand that, but
Uh-huh.
I mean, even there's an email here from our office that says, please see the attached notes from the pre-application conference held on Thursday, March 9th. Please excuse the minor delay. That's coming from our staff.
Mhm.
You're welcome to contact the specific departments directly as shown in the notes for follow-up. There are no deadlines from this point forward. You're welcome to submit your application or your plan as early as Monday the 13th.
That's correct. And that's for site plan approval. And that was true in March, but if they weren't paying attention and they got to May the 15th, those rules changed.
Yeah.
And I can't even legally go back and do anything for them.
Well, I'm saying that, one of our staff members is saying, hey, I'm sorry that there was a delay.
Well, the delay might have been something, but on March the 9th, that's probably pertaining to something different.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do with the UDC.
Okay.
You
So-
got to understand, our communications are meant so that it's very transparent, that we give them the notes, we give them the information, and as soon as they get the information, they can apply within just a few days after that. So the door's always open, but they also have to understand that if there's new regulations going into effect, May the 15th was the cutoff where it's changed everything. So they had a lot of time between March the 9th and May the 12th.
No, I agree there, that is a lot of time. I'm just
Right.
saying that this is not this is a big firm that submits a lot of applications through here. So this is
Sure.
not that they're sloppy or that they don't pay attention or whatever else that could be said. But I think that to work with someone along those guidelines and then make them go back and redo everything, that would probably not be in the spirit of,
Yeah, but
well, we want to work with you.
But legally, I have to adhere to that by the law, by the state law, that when the May the 15th got here, if they had not submitted it by the 12th.
No, they
of
did
May-
submit their application. They just didn't submit their changes until after that.
No, I think
No.
this is what confuses some people. They went through a pre-application conference.
Right.
Yes.
But the pre-application conference isn't the application.
No.
The application is when we said there's no deadline when you submit the application like we had in the previous days to meet a hearing date. So what they have to do is then take those comments, put them into the correct format, and put them into a site plan, and then submit that site plan in for an application. If you did not get that application in time, it wasn't in and deemed complete, and that's exactly the way the wording is in the ordinance. If it's whatever ordinance is in place at the date that it was deemed complete is the time that you go by it. So if it was received after on or after the 15th and deemed complete then it's under the UDC. If it was before that date and deemed complete, then it was under the Chapter 106. So we had a couple of people, even though we have a sheet of paper that tells them that, and we go through point by point to tell them what the procedure is, and they initial it, still get confused that when they go to the meeting on the PAC, that they have already in the process. All they've done at this point is done this pre-application meeting where we're trying to inform them of what they can expect in the process for site plan. So we've had two people to my knowledge that one person thought that he had got some kind of board approval because he was in a room and people looked at it and said, "Sir, no, you never heard a vote. All we did was give you comments." And so, but I recently was made aware of another person who said, "Well, I went through the PAC and I did everything I was supposed to do." I said, "Except you didn't ever complete the application, which we went over with you and told you that's what it was." And they even signed initial saying that they understand the procedures that we tell them. So, this is a new process, fairly new process that we've been going on for over a year. But when we do a transition like this, we understand some things happen, but we can't, once that ordinance was passed, we couldn't accept it if, it's not us not having wanting to work with them. Certainly want to work with them, but if they didn't get it in time, we're not able to work with them because the ordinance says it had to be in
Well, I
by that
understand that,
day.
but what they're saying is they submitted the application, and the staff said, no, we need some more paperwork.
But that was the pre-application.
Well, you're saying they submitted an application and they didn't have it, and we needed more information.
You needed more paperwork.
We
They
needed more
submitted their
paperwork.
final application before the 15th.
But we did not accept it because it wasn't complete.
No, I mean, I don't know the details
Well,
of that. I'm just saying, but
I don't
that's
know
what I'm
either.
saying is it's just, you know, when you deal with the government, it gets so frustrating. Where, yeah, technically they could be wrong, but we could step up and say, yeah, they did submit it. We'll accept this. Because who's it going to hurt to do that? That's
But
Where do
Ronnie,
you draw
I
the
have,
line?
I have to be consistent and I have to be legal and I have to treat everyone the same, regardless of whether it's a big firm or a small firm.
that's okay. I just wanted to bring it up.
Well, that's
and I-
fine. And you're more than welcome to come offline, go offline with us and talk to us about that. Because again, I don't know all the details of that
Yeah.
project.
But and I don't know all the detail. I just know the way it was explained to me, and you know, it's just I don't know.
Well, you're more than welcome to sit down and talk about it.
It's okay. I don't think it'll do anything. It's probably futile. So okay, that's all I have.
All right. Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Smith?
Yes, I'm just wondering, like, some of the things that we discuss, you know, like, after the meetings, to cut down on the time. The agenda will be very short. Can you make our agenda short like you have today? And the reason why
I
I'm
wish I
saying,
could.
what I'm saying, to cut down on some of the time, like the motion he's coming up with, can we discuss that upstairs?
Well, we can, but as a board member, they all have a right to make statements about what they want to do. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Ms.
Can we
Bessie, it's
make them
just,
upstairs?
but sometimes if a person chooses to wait to bring it up down here, that's their prerogative, and that's a right to do that, so.
Just for future discussion, I do not want to belabor this meeting. I know everybody needs to go, and Lord knows the legislature's blowing up on me. I know some agencies or some governmental entities such as ours do limit the number of people who can speak for and against applications. We've
No,
never
you're
adopted
right.
that policy, but I believe there are other agencies that do that, and we ought to think about that and take that into consideration, whether we want to open up, you know, the doors to 50 people want to speak for or against, and I think maybe we should seriously consider maybe limiting it to maybe 10 for, 10 against. And that's just something for future discussion.
Understand that.
And you concur that other entities do that?
I've seen some limitations, it kind of varies across the board. What typically will happen is the chair will say, look, if you're all gonna say the same thing, I'd like for you to designate a spokesperson for your group. Because what we don't want you to do is say the same thing over and over and over again. And that's kind of that's the way a lot of times you can control that. And some organizations, you're right, will have more limitations to how many people can speak, but you have to be very, very careful that you don't seal off the opportunity for public input, or else that creates another problem.
Mark, has this board had any previous policy in that regard?
I'm not aware of a previous policy of that, but we certainly could explore that.
I'm just saying something to look at.
Yeah. You
I've
know,
even heard of some that do time.
And
It's
yeah,
total
I know
time.
with the parish, sometimes they have a cap of time, and they said if you've got a certain number of people, you have a maximum of 15 minutes for the entire group. So we could consider that. That's a possibility, but we'll look into that. That's a good point.
Just some thought for the future.
No, I think it's a good thought.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chair, if there's nothing else, I will make the motion.
So
Windsor's over there asleep on me. I thought he would already be there, so.
We're seeing July 5th, the day after the 4th. All right.
How long will it take